Hello, my friends. Jacob's here one more time, and so are all of you, for what is going to be like a roller coaster ride into the weird events that have gone down. Major television stars passing away, ancient presidents throwing baseballs.
Please welcome the 43rd President of the United States of America.
Angels and demons making battle in the real world.
How does it really play out when you're brought in to perform an exorcism?
Well, it can get pretty wild. I mean, when someone's fully possessed, when you pray over them, the demons start to manifest, and
Britney dancing funky with the mask on as if CV-19 is back. We got people everywhere crying out for a ceasefire. Bring an end to this nonsense. And there is such a deeper meaning to all of it. Maybe not, but we're going to go and we're going to take a look at it from a little speculative lens. You know how I like to take things and I like to peel back some layers? Like, why was President George Bush Jr.? You remember Jr., right? I remember because I was doing a show in New York City right before that happened, the whole thing. And I remember him going out, marching out, going out into the field to throw out that pitch. It was like a big deal. You know, he was making a statement that we're not scared. Baseball's going to continue on. After that faithful day, 2001, throws out that pitch. And here we are, 22 years later. And he's coming out for the Texas Rangers. I just talked about the Texas Rangers. This team right here, the Rangers, they got the big T. I call that the Trump T. You know, because the Trump, he wears that T, but it's also a cross. It's also known as the Tav. It's a symbol of like Christ. It's also a symbol of the people that are marked off in the end. This is according to like biblical prophecy in the book of Ezekiel. It's called like a mark before the world goes to hell in a handbasket and the war in heaven breaks out and all hell breaks loose. God marks off a bunch of people, the good people, the nice people, the wonderful people, the ones that have heart and want to do the right thing in the world. All of you, the witnesses. I'm a witness. You're a witness. Shouldn't more people want to be God's witness too? I think that's a song somewhere. But he threw it out. Game 3 of the World Series on, right after 9/11. And here we are. The World Series is 119 this time, 119th World Series, and he comes marching out and he throws it. He's looking good for his age too. Look. A lot of people say, oh, it's not him. Like, I don't know. There's so many other things to be concerned about. I could care less if it's him or not. But I'll tell you one thing. He's wearing that shirt. And here we are. And the Diamondbacks, they haven't even been in the Super Bowl. I say Super Bowl. I think I said Super Bowl. I don't really follow sports. This is where we're talking about hockey. No, we don't want to talk about hockey. What just happened, that terrible thing. Guy got his throat slashed. Tone told me about that. My boy Anthony. All my boys growing up, big time hockey players. But it was the World Series and the Diamondbacks. They haven't been to the World Series in what? 22 years. 22 everywhere we look. We just got off of a terrible tragedy. We got another one that just went down. And once again, it is just weird. Happens on 17th Street of all things. It's like, there are other streets. Just seems like there's always some weird coinkydink-do that's connected to all of these events. I don't really know what to make of it, but I do know that I just came off talking to all of you about the war in heaven. That's right, this video right here, I did. Look at the title, War in Heaven. Then we get the new Speaker of the House, and then I tell everybody about how the Speaker of the House, his name is Michael. It's like the Archangel, because on the channel I've been talking about who's going to stand up for this generation. And in the end, in the book of Revelation 12, we learn about the Archangel Michael, which is a symbol of the Spirit of Christ as well, just so you know, standing up for this generation, making war with the dragon. who he ends up binding and, casts in for 1,000 years. But Michael, right? Michael's now the Speaker of the House. I found that was pretty interesting. So I tell everybody about the war in heaven. I say this is something that actually takes place within all of us, but don't leave out stuff like literally happening in the world. That's why it's pretty terrible that this terrible event that just went down. The footage that was going around from Dom Luker. Dom Luker, every time I think of his last name, he's like a big-time influencer. I guess conservative influencer. I don't know. I don't really trust any of them, especially when they put out all this terrible footage that they see. But they put the footage out of the thing that just went down. There's like one every day. I think there was another one just yesterday, but this was 2 days ago. And the video, we see people that were injured, and they were angels. They were dressed as angels. How strange is that? One looked like they had been in the back. And they looked like they got, right? And the other one was actually, in the video, you could see, it was like, it seemed like was comforting someone who was dressed as a prisoner. So here we have a picture of like one angel down and one angel helping a prisoner. And I'm thinking, this is like end days stuff playing out. But once again, weird coinky dinky doo. I can't tell you. I did say that the war in heaven was coming. I did kind of say all that. I also found it, interesting because we had that Revelation 12 sign where everybody was looking up into the heavens. That one right there, where it seemed, to fulfill Revelation 12 with the woman that was crowned with the sun that had the moon at her feet. And then, of course, the next part of the story goes the dragon, floods the earth, wants to devour, the child. As I said on the channel, I said that the world's going to get so really crazy and so filled with lies. It's like the liar's going to flood the earth and is going to try to kill that potential, that Christ in you. But no, don't worry. What ends up happening 1,260 days later, it's just a period of time, but some people say it's like a literal period of time. But here we are, 2023, and the war in heaven seems to be playing out. This is when the war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and the angels fought back. But he was not found strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. This is a picture of the day we're in, spiritually speaking. Heaven is within you, so it's a spiritual story. That means that people all over are going to start, Christ is going to kind of be revealed in them. It's going to be, the truth of love is going to prevail over them. The world system is going to get so hard, and it's going to push people to a place where they're going to have to get to their knees and then reevaluate how they live their lives. Except for the ones that already have that tough, that are marked around while they're watching all the madness, and they're okay because they've done this already. And we continue to do it because we have not arrived, my friends. So it's interesting that literally we have Michael as speaking for the house, which would be a picture of Christ speaking for this generation. And at the exact same time, we got angels that seem to be doing battle. Not only that, angels are like all over in the news. The Hell's Angels. The Hell's Angels, they're in the news. You know what they did? They're four of them, 4 bodies. They cooked 4 bodies in pizza ovens. Hell's Angels. That's right. This is in the news. Hell's Angels in an oven. It's the picture of Daniel, right? Didn't I say, Daniel in the lion's den, and you have Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they're thrown into the furnace. Well, and it was 4 in a furnace. Hell's Angels threw, and it turned out there was 4 in that furnace, which is a picture of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and then, of course, Christ being there with you in the midst. It's like a picture. But we literally have Hell's Angels in the news. It's a new movie that's out right now. Big movie, documentary. It's called After Death. From Angel Studios. It's in the news right now. Angels everywhere you go. Fox had a show today. As I'm taping this, angels, demons, spirits, and souls, they do exist, and they have an exorcist. Fox News has an exorcist on their program. Let that sink in for a second, will you? Angel City, the famous team that I've never heard of, know nothing about. I don't know, maybe it's soccer, maybe it's highlight for all I care. But it's like big news, Angel City. They hired the coach of the year. Coach of the year, Becky Tweed. Coach of the year. The Angels got their coach. We got the picture of Christ, the Tav against the serpent. Thank you, Travis Seebeck, for pointing that out to me. I did shows on this. And of course, everybody's getting ready for the old trick-or-treating. And they're going out and getting dressed up and doing all that weird stuff, right? So, Teen Vogue, their article, it's how to be Sunny Angel Doll. Sunny Angel Doll, I think, is like a baby that is like next to wearing nothing. I think. I don't know anything about it, but Teen Vogue, don't let your kids read stuff that's bad. You ever hear of Death Angels, Will Carroll? I worked with a guy who was into all that kind of music. Will Carroll, he says his second, Virus of the Crown bout nowhere near as bad as his first. He said, but it kicked his ass. All right, a lot of angels in the news. In this darkest of nights of our soul. Speaking of dark nights, I think like you got Batman trending.
Are you Batman?
I am Batman.
Yeah, Batman. Symbolism there. Well, who's the Batman? What's the Batman? What's the Batman? Very strange, because with the whole tragedy, we don't like to hear about anybody passing away, especially somebody who struggled. This guy struggled. Matthew Perry, he struggled so much. I mean, some of the things he said, he was like up to, 50-something pills a day. It's terrible. You would think that people that have celebrity and fame and, have a genius wit about them, you would think that they would be above it. But the system is so corrupt. The system is so corrupt because you look at the fruit of the tree. If the fruit of the tree is like nonstop demoralizing family, demoralizing values, demoralizing you, selling you. If the system is built on that, greed and lasciviousness, as they say, it's a big word, right? Don't you think the people that work for the system, you think that they may have a couple of problems? You think when Britney's dancing around and she's doing some kind of an exotic thing, she's doing like her interpretive dance and she's doing stuff, and I'm like, I've gotten to the point in my life where I'm watching this thing and I'm going, what is she trying to say? Because, with dance, you could do the interpretive dance thing and you could kind of like tell a story. I couldn't tell hide nor hair, but I did find it interesting. She got the mask on. And Matthew Perry, this amazing artist, this amazing actor, who everybody's mourning. So many people have done so many shows on it because it's weird. The whole thing about him is weird. It is weird. He was posting about Batman. I put this out on X, this thing right here, like immediately, because I was like, why is he posting about Batman? Because everything that I saw about him was all of these weird posts. Batman. One of them was a Batman pickleball thing. And because it turns out he's a huge pickleball fan, which now pickleball is like all over the media. Even Trump, he was just with Tucker Carlson. They were talking about their new pickleball courts.
These
Pickleball.
They're being built all over the place.
America's favorite sport.
Yeah.
And can I just let that go and be like, it's a new game. It's a fun new game. I'm thinking about how pickles are formed. In vinegar. What did they give Jesus to drink on the cross? Vinegar. It's pickleball. It's the game we're in now. The court's getting a little smaller. It's getting a little tighter. But there's so many interesting, weird things connected to him. Oh my goodness. The real Kim Shady. You should check her out on Patreon. She shares like so much stuff. She sent this over to me because I sent something to her and I sent it to a bunch of other people. And then she's like, did you know that this is connected to Hot Tub Time Machine? And I was like, no way. There were so many weird connections to this. Just very strange. I couldn't get over the fact, like, why is it all about Batman, right? Why is it all about Batman? Even Keemstar, all right? I saw a True Man who follows me and watches the channel. What's up, True? He put something on his thing where he was like, Neom is, and him and Andrew Tate got into a beef or something. I don't know who this guy is. I guess he's a famous influencer, but he was going around, with a bunch of women that were dressed very inappropriately. He was kind of like, they were all like dancing. They were all dancing, like twerking on him or something, but he's wearing the Batman thing, the Batman costume. I'm just like thinking, why is there Batman everywhere? I shared on X and it's gone like it's, I don't know, mini semi-viral, I guess, on X, and about how the voice actor who plays Two-Face, here we go, two again, Two Faces, Janice, It's like the God, the two-faced God. Is the right and the left paradigm. The two-faced, the character. This actor right here, he passed away as well. And I felt like there's like a Dark Knight type of a story that's being played out, like the dark night of our soul. This is the end. This is, and I see it and I think to myself, this is interesting. He also played Bull on Night Court, which is pretty cool. There's so many weird connections to all this stuff. The thing that I found the most odd about Matthew Perry, peace upon him and his family and everything else. I mean, this is, who knows? Who knows what the real story is, right? But right now, as it is, they're saying that it's cardiac arrest, which is, of course, when that first came out, people were very quick to just throw up the fact that, hey, he had T-shirts about the wackadoo, and he was like raising money for like, the World Organization. He was selling shirts and everything else, and it was like some people were like saying mean things, almost like it's like a poetic justice, which is absolutely terrible to say, because I don't think a lot of the people that promote things like that, they probably believe in it. They probably don't know any better. We only know what our intuition tells us if we're not being told it by, the system. And if you're relying on the system for all your information, I think you're may have a problem. You're going to have a problem. Supposedly, according to his friends, Matthew Perry, his friends, he was in good spirits and all this stuff. But what's weird is I got like a weird vibe about the whole thing, because I was thinking of like the bat, and like the fact that it was like the bat was everywhere. I couldn't help but think of the virus of the crown, because that's what they say is connected to it. And then I started to think, I was like, wouldn't that be interesting? God, we want the truth to be known, whatever it is. We want the truth to be known, and I'm not negating anything that happens. If I'm told that, certain things happen, I accept it, but then I look for the spiritual meaning and what's the value of it. It's not like I'm making some kind of crazy, weird idea about what actually happened. I'm saying, what is the symbolism? What is the spiritual meaning here? Like, why did he share a post with 3 little cranberries? Because he was asking a question. He's like, I'm Matt Man. I'm Matt Man. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? Some people are like, it was the bat signal. It's a cry for help. Other people were saying, well, the cranberries. Let's just like the cranberry singer who actually drowned too. The Donut just did a show where he like listed all of these weird coincidences where he's pictured in a tub. He's in this movie in a tub, and he's in that movie. He was in the movie 17 again, of all things. And these things are interesting because we look into it. But what's the spiritual meaning? That's what I'm interested in. Wouldn't it be interesting if then, news gets out that maybe, I don't know, maybe he had like an aneurysm, or maybe it was maybe it was some clotting or something interesting. Maybe what if this comes out now and it is connected to the thing that went down, and then he becomes somebody that becomes like, he's like the trigger, like, look at what happened to him. And then people start to question, is it connected? But the man had a terrible, terrible addiction. The man probably abused his body more than most. It happens. He was playing pickleball. He came home. But the question was, why was he in the jacuzzi the night before? So I think to myself, I look at that famous post, the one where he's, showing off his T-shirt. And then I look at the moment that he passes away. It's 888 days. And I think that's strange. I don't know why. I just think it's strange. I just feel like it's strange. I feel like it's a coincidence. I feel like this terrible, tragic event, like perhaps God's trying to tell us something through it. And what else was connected to it? 888 days. This. It's interesting. It's interesting, don't you think? The day we're in, we don't really know really what to believe. That's the day that Michael stands up after the dragon floods the earth, right? So much so that, fake news that's the thing. That's the thing. We don't even know what's real. And who was the gal who represented that? Excuse me for using like archaic language. This gal. You remember this gal on the plane saying that mother Fudgerson's not real? Remember her? Just talked about her recently as well. Because she's now like a Halloween costume, and now she's working for the airlines, which makes me think, oh, a little bit of maybe this is all connected somehow. But she shares this video at this party, which was clearly done professionally because it was shot by other people. It wasn't just random, and you could just tell it was a setup. And she's watching the game with every single character, mythological character, from Santa Claus to Bigfoot to an alien to a leprechaun to a unicorn, all the ones that aren't real. She's wearing that MAGA red hat too, by the way. Isn't that interesting? What is real? What is real today? That's the problem. And the great news is God's going to reveal it. Speaking of Batman, they're about to make a scarecrow. The big news today is that they're going to make it like a scarecrow. He's like one of the villains. He's kind of a lesser known villain. His name's Jonathan. He was a great psychiatrist. And I always thought the character was great. And of course, he was a psychiatrist, so he messed with people's minds. Got people to think things that, to see things that aren't there, to believe they're wrong. So it's very coincidental that as we're talking about fake news and we're talking about manipulation, we're talking about those old psychological operations, and they're like slating the Scarecrow to be, a film. Weirder than that, after we hear about Natman and his tragic death, we hear now about Patman. A couple of days earlier, Arkham Knight, which is Batman, it's it's about the insane asylum. Batman and Two-Face, there's the two again, right? And they're releasing a new outfit. So you can wear the the Robert Pattinson Batman outfit is now part of the Arkham series, which has to do with madness, which has to do with the land that we're in, which is what I sound like sometimes when I talk to people about how, oh yeah, you're going to see 22 everywhere. Can you imagine that post? At the time, people were like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Back in September, I'm like, you will see 22 everywhere. I just had a feeling. I had a vibe. And then I find out all this stuff connected to it. And what do we see? All the 22s. Even AOC was just talking about how there was like 2.2 million people they've been shut down. They got no communication. Now Elon's taking some flack because he was like, oh, well, I'm going to help out. I'm going to give the stuff. And then Israel's like, we're cutting off Elon and Starlink. And Starlink's like, we're going to give people help so that, if people need aid, they should be able to get aid. But he's ironically, giving it to the organizations that are like recognized by the UN, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how it all works out. Man, to be in that position, like I can barely get through my day in my life and the things that I need to share and the things that I think about and the responsibility that I feel that's attached to that, because I really want everybody to know that things are going to be okay if you do the right thing. But could you imagine to be like one of the guys that makes the world move and like is connected to like hostile takeovers of systems that are in power? Not saying he is, but it feels like there's some weird stuff going on, doesn't it? I said a long time ago that Trump would be back. I did. We all know this. If you're new to the channel, this is a thing. And here we are. So much so, Benny Johnson, who is a big-time ex-influencer, millions of people follow him, listening to him and everything else. He posted out Trump from Halloween, where Halloween he was doing, had all the kids. And I think it was from a couple of years ago, but it was when he was president. I think it was the last Halloween. Same Halloween where he had like the serpent staff. He looked like he was cursing the media. I talked about this, about Moses and then the staff, and I explained all this stuff. But the video that Benny Johnson shares is of Trump and a minion. Trump and his minions. And I just think that's just, everything's so weird, It's everything's so weird. It's very funny. The one-eyed minion, by the way. But people are so scared and so stressed out with all the things that are happening that you have like big-time influencers saying, "Oh, the protection of the Lord is gone." This one over here, I think her name's Morgan. She said, just more confirmation to stay home and not partake in the festivities of the world. The protection and peace of God has left this place. That's not true. That's not true. God only forsakes those who forsake God. You know what I mean? That means that God only forsakes those that forsake God. Meaning, God doesn't forsake you unless you believe it and then you act in a certain way, and then you're going to be judged by that certain way because you're not acting godly. So then there's a repercussion that makes it, very difficult for you in the coming days. And it's just, I don't want people to be scared. I want you to have boldness in the days to come. It's going to get weird. But let me tell you something, I don't believe the world's going to blow up. I think there's a change of hands going on. That's it. It's a change of hands, a hostile takeover. It's happening. It's happening. Just like it happened in Jeremiah's day. He said, you know what? He warned them. He said, the king of Babylon's coming. King of Babylon's coming. He's going to take things over. Are you going to be okay with it? And guess who was okay in the end? Jeremiah and his family. All those that were marked off right now. The scary thing is, I was talking to Danielle about this. It's like, your name is Jacob Israel. You're like if anyone was to say, you're like the father of the Jews. It's not true. It comes from the tribe of Judah, right? Jacob had no religion. Just so you know, Abraham, Isaac, no religion. There was no religion. We didn't have it. We had a covenant. We believed there was more and we did the right thing. That's it. I made a deal with God. Hey, take care of my family and I'll serve you. So far, so good, right? You do the right thing by other people. But like right now, it's, they just shut down an airport. They just shut down an airport where there was supposedly a flight arriving from Israel and they shut it down. They're trying to get people so spooky and so scared. And they're also trying very desperately, a lot of these influencers are trying desperately to get people to hate. I see these things going around Christians and Muslims, they're connected. And then they're like, but the Jews aren't. It's just crazy to me. It's crazy to me to see this happening. Because in the grand scheme of things, spiritually, it's kind of happening. But the natural is not the same as the spiritual. For example, the literal Israel is just the name of a state. The real Israel, if you will, according to scripture, according to, they're lost. They're you, they're me, scattered. They're the ones that are doing the right thing. They're the ones that are being kind and loving and forgiving. And they're the ones that are going to inherit. They're the meek. They're the gentle. They're the patient. They're the downtrodden. The people that are terrible their days are numbered. And we don't even need to take arms. God's going to take care of that. And God's going to take care of all of you. And I hope that you can do me a favor. If anything that I'm sharing on the channel has helped you or anything else, will you do me a favor? Will you sign up for Patreon? Will you? Because I'm going to share it there more. I'm going to do a lot of other things. The Donut and other people were telling me that I should be more involved there. Maybe share a couple. I don't know what I'm going to do. But that's a way to do it. All the links are in the description of the video below. You can also get yourself some merch. There's the ladders, Jacob's Ladder that Noah created for me, a website through Teespring. You can get all the merch. It's all there. Of course, the only sponsor that I have because they're awesome. Steven, let me tell you something. Just to give you some, this is trulyfreehome.com. You want to go there. You can go to the links in the description of the video, click more, go down, and then just click it. You can get a $5 trial, and if you're already ordering, use code Jacob, you get 30% off. But Steven, the owner of this company, the owner of Truly Free, he came down to New York, and he's like, hey, let's get together. And they were going to go out, and they were doing a chartered fishing boat, which I thought was so nice. And he invited me, and he invited Ethan along. Ethan had a couple of basketball games, so we couldn't go. But I said, make sure you catch at least 7 fish. I said this because it reminded me of when I was in the hospital and it didn't look like it was going to be okay. My children were young. I was going through actually more of a custody thing. It was right before I got custody of my children. you know, me and my ex-wife, we get along great. She's awesome. She's in California. Everything worked out exactly as God ordained. The time was a very difficult time for me because I was very, very ill. I was in and out of the hospital. And at the moment I was in the ICU, I had last rites read, you know, like I had a priest coming in. It was in, meanwhile, I have a girl, baby girl Shiloh, who was about to turn 2. And I had a son, Noah, who was 4. And I had lost everything because I gave everything to my ex. I just wanted the children. I was at a low, low point. And long story short, I kind of made it. I was like, Lord, just get me out of here. I said, let me take Shiloh and Noah fishing. That's all I want to do. I wanted to go with my grandfather, Pop. So I ended up getting out. I don't know, you know, what happened was a specialist said, try this. And then I went in for like an emergency type of a thing. They shot a coil in, they stopped the bleeding. They couldn't use any painkillers because my blood pressure was so low. It was in ICU. It was bad. I was sick for a long time in my life. I like literally have, like you could see, if you take a look, you could see like the scar in my belly. I had my intestines ripped out. It wasn't easy. My life wasn't easy, but man, was it worth it. You know, I lost everything a couple of times, but man, was it worth it. I said, oh, Lord, just let me take him fishing. And I took him fishing. And Noah caught 7 fish. Noah, at 4 years old. I mean, me and Pop, my grandfather, we were helping. And Shiloh caught the 8th. So I told Stephen, I said, make sure you catch at least 7. And I said, how many did you catch? And he goes, I caught 8. I said, well, who? I said, was it your child that caught the 8th? And he said, yeah, my son Caleb caught the 8th and the 1st. And he went fishing with Joshua and Caleb. Now, Caleb was one of the people that went into, and like they went out and they went into the land. They were the promised land. It was a picture. Joshua and Caleb, they were the only ones that weren't scared. Joshua and Caleb, they were the only ones that were literally allowed into the promised land. Moses wasn't. Because everybody was so scared. The giants, it's like so big. Look at the world. The people that are in charge, they're spooky, they're scary, they're powerful. Joshua and Caleb, they had, you know, Caleb had to be like a spy, like pretend to be a spy. But said, the Lord is with us. We can take them down. And they took them down indeed. And they entered in. And I told Stephen, I said, Stephen, by the way, trulyhomefree.com. Great, nice, wonderful, great insight. It's rare and a blessing to me. And it'll be a blessing to your home. I have like people emailing me and saying, you know, I have a cleaning company. I'm switching over to everything. That's a great selling point. You know, if you have a company and you clean, you're like, hey, by the way, we don't use toxins. And you save money with your stuff over the long run. And you're using stuff that works great. 8 fish. It was a reminder. And here I am, how many years later? What a reminder for all of us, because we are entering into the promised land. All right, listen, I gotta go. You all have the best day ever. You know what to do. Hit the like button, share the video around, subscribe to the channel. I hope this was an encouragement to you. I love each and every one of you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.